Good afternoon, brothers and sisters, and welcome once again to the Self-Improvement Basis for Community Development Talk Show. I'm your weekly host, Brother James Muhammad, and I'm honored to have on the show this afternoon my brother from Heal 901, the founder and executive director of Heal 901, our brother, Darrell Cowan. Good afternoon, my brother.
Brother Muhammad, it is a pleasure to be over here with you, Doctor. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, my brother, for accepting my invitation. I met my brother the other day at the Juvenile Crime Conference, and he was telling me about his organization. I think it's very important that we get this information out to the public about Heal 901. First of all, brother, once again, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Heal 901, love the name?
Yes, sir.
Is it on time?
Yes, sir.
But what is the inspiration behind Heal 901?
The inspiration behind Heal 901 comes from taking my personal pain and turning it into power. Growing up in the inner city, coming up in a single parent home, my mom was a hard worker and she had a wonderful support system. My father was always around, but my uncle, being closer to the house, was always like a father figure to me. Mm-hmm. And tragically in 2009, he was actually murdered by the hands of Richmond County Sheriff's deputies. And after that, that affected me because it wasn't just my uncle. It was like a dad. Mm-hmm. And understanding a lot of men don't have that positive figure in their life, I immediately just started helping young men with whatever I could. I'm talking about you need help trying to get a job, find a ride, anything I can help my young people with, I did. And roughly around 2013, 2014, my kindness was taken for a weakness. I dropped a young man off. He had told me he got robbed earlier that day. I picked him up to get him out of that community. The place where he asked me to drop him off, it was literally around the corner from my house at the time. And when I dropped him off, he saw the gentleman who robbed him. And he got out of my vehicle and shot that gentleman and killed him. And unfortunately, I was charged with first-degree murder. So when I understand how the system works, and sometimes being an African-American, even though you're in helpful situations, but because of sometimes our presence, that people perceive us differently. So after understanding that, I went through a rough period mentally, to where I was admitted into 2 mental hospitals inside of the city. I was admitted into St. Francis, which is not far from here, as well as Crestwind. And at Crestwind, I actually flatlined. They rushed me out, took me to the hospital, and in that moment of insanity for me and not knowing what was going on, I just remember that a voice asking me, if you had one more chance to live, what would you do? And I said I would go Heal 901. So when they say to be successful, you have to want this bad as you want to breathe. Well, for me, I've been without breath. And this is what I feel like gave me my second chance at life. So understanding that, I want to give everybody else the same thing that God has granted me with. Oh,
brother, man, now, that's one testimony. For those who just now tuning in to the Self-Improvement Basis for Community Development Talk Show, I'm honored to sit here with my brother, Darrell Cowan.
Yes, sir.
He's the executive director and founder of Heal 901.
Yes, sir.
So you had to go through a healing process yourself, I see.
Most definitely.
And I thank you for that testimony, because there are young men and women that can relate to that testimony. And it's more attractive to them to know those who've actually been through those trenches and can relate to them as they go through those trenches also, brother. So I thank you for that. Now, I was reading your website. And your website stated that you're trying to turn youth into leaders. Now with Heal 901, is it dedicated to youth, or is there an age group, or is it for everybody?
Initially, Heal 901 started out because our model and mission is cultivating the minds of young leaders. Understanding, so we are the regional leaders of 2 evidence-based programs, and that's Coaching Boys into Men for my young men, and Athletes as Leaders is an evidence-based program for our young ladies. Both of these programs are designed to curb sexual assault and domestic violence. Understanding that domestic violence is the largest reported crime in Shelby County. And we also have a program that we do with the Tennessee Department of Health. It's called Shifting Boundaries. And we actually work with the Shelby County Crime Victim and Rape Crisis Center in providing that service. So when it comes to us and working with young people, that's how we initially start. Understanding that the youth are our future. And if we want to see a better Memphis, a better 901, we have to take control of our babies by going where our babies are being lost. And that wasn't just in schools. We found that to be somewhere inside, sometimes inside of the community. So when people talk about ACEs, we work with the Shelby County Health Department in a program called Cure Violence Global and Safer Shelby. And with that program, we're not only looking at the ACEs of adverse childhood experiences, but also the adverse childhood environments, because the environment plays a very critical role in producing the child. If you put a child in a toxic environment and it's given toxic water, even though that child is going to naturally produce fruit, like a tree would naturally produce fruit, but would that fruit be healthy fruit and be beneficial to others around them? So we understand that we got to till some ground. We got to shake some things up, and that means we got to get boots on the ground in these communities. So we're pleased to be inside of some of the apartment complexes in the Whitehaven area and trying to do some violence prevention and seeing violence as a public health issue.
Okay, now, little history about yourself.
Yes, sir.
Native American, excuse me, a native Memphian, right?
Yes, sir, I am.
And what high school you graduated from?
I graduated from D. Fairley High School.
D.
Fairley High School. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm a Hamiltonian, you know. And the one thing about the Memphis area, everybody have to ask that question: what high school did you graduate from?
Most definitely.
But I grew up in the South Memphis area. I worked at the Red Lobster out there on Elvis Presley.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a regular Crystal Palace baby, so I understand my Fairleigh people and love my Fairleigh brothers and sisters because they worked at Red Lobster with me also. But that's very important. And you live where?
I live in Whitehaven. I
live in
actually just moved back to the area in which I service. And the reason that I moved back was because I understood our babies need to see professionals in the community. If the only person successful they see is the drug dealers and those individuals are sometimes engaged in negative activity, we fail to realize that a positive influence can not only change the trajectory of that child's life, but we can actually change the life of some of these other individuals who are committing other acts of crime and violence. So for me, it was just important to be that face in the community instead of being a product being the product of the community. I became the product in the community now.
Yeah, and Whitehaven is a beautiful community also.
Most definitely.
One thing, because I remember back in the days, Southland Mall, Southbrook Mall, and those
Yes,
things
sir.
like that. But now you have different disciplines within your organization.
Most definitely.
Now, when you look at the news and you see the crime rate, matter of fact, on the news today, they were talking about the number of cars being stolen in the Shelby County area.
Yes, sir.
But they have been stolen by young men between the ages of 16 to 18.
Yes, sir.
I'm in a prison reform ministry.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started going into prison 20 years ago, the average sitting in our self-improvement, which is the basis for community development study course, was between the ages of, I say, 28 to 37.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm sitting there and I'm faced with 17, 16-year-old, 19-year-olds.
Yes, sir.
What can we do in the Shelby County area to help curb some of this juvenile crime? And what Heal 911, what particular program do you have to work towards these young black men, trying to get them out of the streets, get them in the program, get them involved?
Well, first of all, we know that love conquers all. So understanding that's how we Heal 911 approach. We also do believe that you can't keep putting Band-Aids on top of gunshot wounds.
Right.
And I think that that's something that we've had go on from various organizations and various facets of the city. At Heal 911, we understand to effectively heal, brother. To effectively heal, it's going to hurt. And that's what we got to be ready for the pain. Because I have to dig deeper than where this projectile is lodged, to remove this projectile, to clean the wound, to begin the healing process. And that's where we're at right now at Heal 911. We're a young organization and we're at that digging stage. So we dig in deep. And so it hurt a little bit when we come in, because we're coming in and we're exposing a lot of the systematic things that are holding us back, as well as some of the generational things that we passed down that's been harmful to us. So it's important that when we're doing this, I engage our young men. And when I engage them, we do things like Resource Day, where once a year, we bring all the resources to a centralized area inside the community. I'm talking about your driver's license, the license, your record expunge, job fairs. We do these things and we bring all the resources to the group that need it the most. We understand there's a lot of wonderful organizations in Memphis doing a lot of great work. But the truth of the matter is the citizens who need you the most, it's hard for them to get to you. They don't have transportation. Matters working on it, but we understand we still got some transportation issues that we're navigating. And there's a difficulty with the underserved population getting to the resources. So if we know the resources are here and the people are here, at some point we have to bridge the gap and bring the resources to the people to give them a fair chance and opportunity. So that's what we do during Resource Day. We also do Love Day, where once a month we go into a different area and we just shower individuals with love. I don't care if that means going to Wendy's and getting 44 for fours. I will shut a Wendy's down and grab those meals, even though we could find other healthier options. But when I'm engaging individuals who are indigent in the streets, homeless, I need to be able to give them something.
Yes, sir.
Even with any ministry, anything that you do, when you're trying to give people knowledge and you want to help them, you got to meet people where they're at. And if my stomach touching my back and you want to tell me how I can live a more empowered life, Doc, I can't listen to you over the ground. So I have to be able to ease that hunger pain so I can be able to open up your ears just a little bit.
All right, brothers and sisters, just now tuning in to the Self-Improvement Basis for Community Development Talk Show. I'm honored to have as my guest this afternoon from Heal 901.
Yes, sir.
The Executive Director and Founder, Brother
Yes, sir.
Darnell Cowens. Brother, now you speaking.
Yes, sir.
I hear a spiritual aspect to your program.
Most definitely.
And you know, when we was talking at the crime prevention conference, the juvenile crime prevention conference, and all the ideas came out, but no one addressed the spiritual problem that deal with our people, the love,
Yes, sir.
self-hate.
Yes, sir.
You know, we keep throwing money at program, but if you're throwing money at the people who don't love themselves,
You're throwing it in the hole.
so, you know, I'm so tired of calling our young children or young men criminals.
They're not.
They're not criminals.
No.
They're just, you know, they're in the circumstances that these institutions are designed to control the circumstances. You know, the sheriff department, they manage the problem. But your organization seems like it have a spiritual counterpart to it too.
Most definitely. I know how I got here. It wasn't just by me doing my own. And you know, I'm a studier of various religions, so therefore I make sure that I'm well-rounded to be able to serve my community, because I understand that when I go in a community, I'm going to encounter people from various different religious backgrounds. But one thing that is commonality in them all is understanding that you got to have respect for the Creator and understand where you come from. If you don't know who you are and who created you and why you're here and where you're going, now you're lost. So for me, I tell anybody when I first meet them, my young men, most definitely, the first thing I tell them is this: brother, the hardest fight that you would ever have to fight in life, you've already won. The hardest battle that you would ever face in life, you've already won. And that's confusing to them. And then I elaborate, well, brother, let me explain to you. The fight for conception, the fight to get here. See, a male produces 1 million sperm cells a day. When you were conceived, at minimum, you outran 1 million sperm cells to fertilize this egg to be here today.
That's right.
That was the hardest fight you was going to ever have to fight, and that was the fight to get here. Now, brother, that was a battle that you got to go through now to get back home. And that's what it's about, brothers. When it's all said and done, where you going when it's all over? See, life is just a dash. And when you look at it, at the birth, you got a birthday, and when it's all said and done, you're going to be left with a death day. Everybody's going to judge you by how you live your dash. And brother, that's what you're in control of. And when I teach that to my young men and give them their perspective, now they're looking at it differently. So now I can tell them, hey, about who created you and how you're here, why you have a purpose, and now find the purpose and let's live in it.
Okay, now quick question. With the young men and the young women, you have any programs currently in place for parents?
For our parents, what I find is our parents are actually in these positions because of the lack of resources. Understanding how we're in this position that we're in. Even when we're talking about these youth who are committing crime, to be totally honest with you, my brother, you're talking about homeless youth.
Yeah.
That's why they're doing a lot of these crimes. Because there's a notion, there's an underlying thing that nobody really talks about, and that's us telling our children you have to leave your house at 18. At 18, the frontal lobe isn't fully developed. That means this child is still developing brain. And the only reason that we begin letting our children out the house at 18, because when the government assists you, it's just assistance. It wasn't for us to sit there. So when your child turned 18, the government says you can't have an adult living in a house with you receiving benefits. So on that child's 18th birthday, the benefit stops. And if you have other young children, the child can't be in the house. So now we have a child that is totally lost, don't know where they're going and how to get there, but they will do anything to survive. We gotta meet the needs.
Wow. Now, I was looking at your website. Some of the organization you have Safe Bars.
Yes, sir.
What is Safe Bar?
So Safe Bar is a national program that was created in DC that the University of Tennessee Knoxville has adapted and brought to the state. The Tennessee Department of Health picked it up, and we partnered with Shelby County Crime Victim and Rape Crisis Center on their program as well. And what we do with that is we go into liquor serving, alcohol serving establishments, whether that's a bar, a winery, your restaurant, whether you know Applebee's or Red Lobster. They said we're going in there to teach the bar staff signs of sexual assault and human trafficking, understanding that is a major problem nationally. And because Memphis has been labeled as a distribution hub and people understand you can get here and go anywhere, we understand the importance of our alcohol serving establishments to have this knowledge to keep their patrons safe. And the way I teach them is this: now, brother, you're not going to let nobody come in your house and disrespect your guests. So treat your workplace the same way. Don't let another patron disrespect one of the guests who are here in your home as well. And if you see something, you got to say something. I think that for some odd reason, a lot of our normal citizens have now found themselves following street rules and street codes when those things don't apply to you. So therefore, if the street code is don't say something, why are our citizens afraid to speak at this point? So we got to get our citizens back to a point where when they see something, they say something. So we say at Safe Bars, you got to say something, man. So you got to put that man in there for the 901.
And you know, that's interesting too, because alcohol usually stimulates the abuser.
Most definitely.
So if he's there with his girlfriend or his wife and you know the signs, you can intervene.
Most definitely.
Because I've actually seen it happen in a club where a gentleman started drinking, and he went from drinking to punching his girlfriend.
Right.
So, brother, that's very interesting. I like that, brother. Now, athletes as leaders. I like them because I produce some athletes from out of my home.
Yes, sir.
They're coaching basketball. But
Yes.
what is athletes as leaders?
So athletes as leaders is the female component to coaching boys into men. These programs were created by an organization called Futures Without Violence. And they created some programs for teens. And the way the program was originally designed was for the coaches to be the one to lead the program and be able to have 15-minute discussion with their players about life skills. Well, what we realized is now we're in a different climate. Now that Shelby County, we produce some magnificent athletes. And now with the NIL deal, where youth can now go into college and be compensated for their name, their image, and their likeness, we're making sure we're sending out the most poised athletes. It's not about you just excelling on the field and the court. It's not about you just being a good student. You have to be good at being a leader and being able to, when no one eyes is on you, lead people to the right direction. So we work with athletes, and the reason I work with athletes because they are the leaders, my brother. They're leaders in school, they're the leaders at home, they're the leaders in community. So if I effectively change the mindset of the leader, I can effectively change everybody who follow them. So that's our goal. So coaching boys and the men and athletes and leaders, they go hand in hand. When I do one in the school, I have to do the other. So now we have male and female leaders who are able to lead this school in a positive direction.
And I'm reminded of a graduate of Hamilton 1982. The leaders in our school was Coach Lloyd Williams, Coach A, Coach Hancock, and the principal used them. There was no such thing as police in the school. It was coaches with paddles.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And they became an example, and everybody know about Coach Theodore Anderson today and the things he's done for young black men. Now, also, you have a program called Coaching Boys into Men, Kurt Vallis, and you also spoke to me about something that's going to be going on in Horizon apartment complex.
Most definitely. We're gearing up, and that's the cure violence model. We'll be working with the Shelby County Health Department. We're now looking at gun violence and violence as a whole as a public health issue. Brother, like you just stated, where you turn, every time you wake up in the morning and watch the news, you're watching people being victimized. And it's to a point that we're being desensitized of crime. That's very cautious. When we're desensitized of how crime affects people, that is a problem. And what I need the citizens of the 901 to understand is this, is that we are a living organism when it comes to the people of the 901. What affects you affects me. So therefore, if we understand that we have to do something about this, our young people are crying out for help and assistance.
Sure.
When you see that, we gotta give them the things that they're asking for, brother. And if that means that we have to step up, come out the comfort of our churches, come out the comfort of some of our jobs, to be able to put boots on the ground in the places. You know the places that need help, them the places that we don't want to go. Well, even in the Bible it says that the harvest is plentiful, but laborers are few. That means that we know that the work is here, but who's going to come outside to go and make the difference? And that's where Hill 901 wants to be. We want to be that lead organization that is taking boots out of everywhere else in the city, and let's put them in one place. And that's where we know the need is. And once we fix one area, let's move to the next. You can't have 87 pots going at one time in the kitchen, doc, because you're going to mess around and burn something up. So let's focus on one thing at a time, and let's get these things done. Because the future of the 901 is dependent on it. Our youth are dependent on us. And when I talk to my babies, the first thing I do is I apologize. I apologize for not someone intervening there earlier. I apologize for someone not doing it and helping them with the things they needed when they were younger. But now we're here. I can't control the past. But as a community member, when I go into these schools, my students are totally receptive. Why? Because they know I'm coming here out of love, and I'm coming here to make a difference and make your life better. Actually, when I talk to my young men, I do not leave my young men. They cannot walk out of my room without saying I love you. I say that to every one of them, because it's sad how many of our young men has never heard I love you from another man.
That's right.
I remember the first time I heard my father say it to me. I broke down and cried, and I'm a grown man when I heard it. Like he had said it before, but as an adult, hearing my dad say, I love you, I'm a fan of you, I'm proud of you, son. I'm driving, taking my own kids to daycare, and I had to pull over and cry because I know that it felt good to know that I made my dad proud of the life that I'm living. For my dad to say he was a fan of me, for my dad to say he loved me, I know what it did for me. So now I'm just giving it to other young men. Our babies need some love, and I'm just here to give it to them.
All right. Well, brother, as you were speaking, I was thinking, you mentioned churches. There's a church on every corner.
Yes, sir.
If there's four corners, there are four churches, but there's also churches that extend beyond the four corners.
Yes, sir.
At the conference the other day, they said they need religious organization to get more involved.
Yes, sir.
Is there a relationship between Hill 901 and the church community, the mosque community? And what can we do to help?
And that's where I need, and that's where I'm at. Most definitely, there's a need. And what I realize, a lot of churches don't have the personnel to be able to come out and do the work that they truly want to do. But when you don't have the personnel, what you have to do is latch up with somebody else who are already out there. Support them, because they're still doing the work. And yes, I need my brothers and sisters from the mosque. I need them to come out of those temples and the cathedrals. I need them to come out of the church, because our city is in dire need of love. And that love can only come from God himself, the creator of it all. And we have to introduce them to that. I understand that in a lot of environments, they say don't talk about that, don't teach that. But when you take God out of things,
that's the problem.
That's how you end up with problems. So if schools can't talk about God, if everybody else can't, but you know who can? The citizens can.
That's right.
So we can go and bring it to them. And that's what we have to do. They're not coming into churches. You can have all the buildings you want, but a lot of them are empty. They're on life support themselves. And not to say all of them, because there's some churches that are doing great work. There's some mosques that are out here trying to do great work and doing it. So understanding that those are the brothers and sisters I'm latching with. I'm looking for those who are ready to go out here, don't mind going in these areas and saving our brothers and sisters. And if you know who we saving them from? Themselves.
Themselves. That's right. Brothers and sisters, just now tuning in to the Self-Improvement Basis for Community Development Talk Show. I'm sitting here with my brother from Hill 901.
Yes, sir.
The executive director and founder, Brother Darrell Cowan. Brother, you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked the question, what is the duty of the civilized? And the answer is to teach the uncivilized. And then he asked the question again, what if we fail to perform our duty? And the answer today is we've been put to death.
Most definitely.
It's not a death sentence where you march in front of a marching
Teach, sir.
Squad, but it's those who we refuse to save, that we won't come out of the church and they won't come out of the mosque to save. They are the ones that's going to keep us locked in our homes out of fear.
Yes, sir.
So you see it on the news today. Black women go to ATM machine. Guess what happened? She get beat down, robbed, killed. We lost our sister Nelson. I can't think of her name. Not a few months ago, who worked hard in the community. over there at Raleigh. We saw the pastor, the lady who worked in the community. She was shot and killed by young people.
Mm-hmm.
And really, you know, I might get in trouble for this, but it's the men's fault.
Teach, sir.
It's the men's fault.
Teach, sir.
Our women shouldn't be out there in the trenches trying to solve the problem. Men should be.
Teach, sir.
And that's why when I was talking to you, I said I have to have this brother on the show because he need a megaphone
Yes, sir.
to get the message out. Because if we don't go out, who's gonna go out?
I'm gonna tell you this much, brother. If you ever come to Hill 901, man, I'm telling you, a lot of people see me. I got another young man who goes out and do my male programming now. I used to be in schools all the time. I got somebody else to do that. But one thing for sure, my ladies are there. That man in the office, they holding me down. Everybody has a role to play in this. And yes, our men do need to be out here. Point blank, period. We already have our young men, and our men, we're losing them at a rather rapid rate to the violence as well as incarceration. So those brothers who are still out here, we got to fill some gaps. The Bible says it takes a village to raise a child. So if we see that there's a loss and a lack of men in the community, there's a lack of men in the home, well, brother, you know what that means? Sometimes you got to cut that TV down. You got to cut that TV off, and you got to step outside. One of the phrases that I use a lot from the brother Malcolm X is this right here: "We're all being bamboozled by the idiot box." The black mirror is stealing your soul. Well, if you cut your TV screen off and you look at it, that's the black mirror. If you cut your phone off and look at it, that's the black mirror. When you cut the iPad and the computers off, that's the black mirror. We're spending so much time focusing and honing in on technology, playing on the games and entertainment. The work is outside. Cut it off. It's going to be here. Go help somebody. Because the person you help today may be the same person who helped you and save you tomorrow.
That's right. Well, you know, I'm a first responder lieutenant with the Shelby County Fire Department. And my area is the Shelby Drive, Riverdale area.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your service, brother.
Yeah, thank you. But we see crime is going up. One of the major problems we're having is weed laced with fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
Young men, young women. Well, we know we just lost Gangsta Boo.
Mm-hmm.
We have a serious drug problem in the community. What is the future of 901, Hill 901, as it relates to the drug problem, and how can we, how are you going to get involved in that aspect of that?
Brother, that's a phenomenal question. And I got an amazing answer for you.
Yes, sir.
Hill 901 is a licensed mental health and substance abuse counseling facility.
Whoa.
So recently, we just expanded our offices. I moved my whole admin team, like we were growing, and my admin, we got to a point to where I had staff members all huddled around a conference room table and they were working. So now we took ourselves and we got a new space for our administrative staff, and that old space we still have it, and that's our full mental health substance abuse counseling facility. The thing about this facility is it's unique, brother. I know you're gonna like this. Our hours of operation will be from 2 o'clock to 10 o'clock, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Why? I don't want this to affect your job. I don't want you to have to rush this work or anything, but if you know you need help, you need to be able to come here and get help. And I believe that God, Allah places us in places that we need to be when we need to be there the most. So you know where our office is located, brother.
Now, let me tell you a quick testimony in closing. Other day we was at work, a man knocked on the door. He was with his son. He wanted some Narcan. We said, we just can't give you the Narcan. So we made him come in and have a seat. We said, what's the problem? He said he's going to rehab tomorrow, but he don't think he can make it. So he wanted some Narcan just in case he overdosed. So what we did, we called his son in, and he said he had to take his son to the barber shop and to the dentist. So we devised a plan where his son could stay with him and talk to the doctor. So when he go back to see the dentist, he go back there with his son. His son was 19. And we got him to the dentist, got him to get his hair cut. Then he checked in back home. Then I told him, if you need us, we'll get in fire truck and we'll drive down to your home to just sit with you, just so we can get you on that bus and get you to Birmingham for rehab. Well, we accomplished the goal. He got on the bus. He checked in with me. He said, I'm in Birmingham. And I know I lost contact because he probably took his phone from him once he checked into rehab. But I wish I would have known you.
Oh, yeah.
I met you Saturday.
So watch this, Doc.
That's how serious the problem is.
It's great. It's so serious that our office is located right by the main Matter bus terminal. The same Greyhound bus terminal, the same Mega bus terminal, right there on Brooks and Winchester. If you can get on a city bus and get to the terminal, you can walk to your help. The Bible says, wherefore thou make one step, that he makes two. If you get on the bus and just walk, we're there to help you.
Well, brother, I thank you for coming on the show.
My brother, it's my pleasure.
But you got to give us a closing statement. Talk to our community out there and tell them more about your organization. How can they get in touch with you? And some information to get in touch with you, brother. Thank you, my brother.
Most definitely, brother. So if you want to know more about Heal 901, reach out to us. Our website is www.heal901. That's HEAL901.org. And on our website, you click the contact us link, send us an email. One of the staff members will get back to you expeditiously and let you know how you can put some hands on deck. But in the future, we have this event that's coming up January the 27th, my brother. January the 27th, our inaugural Cultivating the Minds of Young Leaders fundraising gala. This is our first time reaching out to the community to help us with this organization. Brother, I invested my own dollars into this, moved back into my mom's home with my wife and child to get this started. So now I'm reaching out to other organizations, I'm reaching out to other churches, I'm reaching out to business leaders, I'm reaching out to everybody. If you see this problem, we know we got to do something. So on the 27th, come out and support us. We'll be at the Cadre building, downtown. So you get to put this is one of the first formal events of the year you'll be able to attend this year in the city. So step out, put it all the way on, and come support us at Heal 901. The Cadre, January the 27th, downtown Cadre building, 6 o'clock. You'll learn more about this organization, see some of the people that we've helped, see the staff that I have with me, and we just want to show the community what we're doing and how they can put hands on deck.
Count me in with a donation and be in there, suited and booted.
I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for coming on, brothers and sisters.
Yes, sir.
Thank you once again for tuning in to the Self-Improvement Basis for Community Development Talk Show. Once again, thank you, brother. Heal 901, our brother, Executive Director, Darrell Cowell. Thank you once again for coming on the show.
Yes, sir.
Till next week, brothers and sisters, peace be unto you.